Good morning and welcome to my hobby bench, and today's video is going to feature just a few items that I purchased from the last area swap meet of the season, I believe, and that would be this. I went to the Valley Aero Modelers RC swap meet and auction on Sunday just looking for items that I could potentially make some videos of, and basically looking for anything glow related. I didn't come across a whole heck of a lot, but what I think I came across you might be pretty interested in. The first thing was this. Fellow had a box of, with the exception of this one that's got some paint on it, all of these APC props. And they look fairly new. This one's been used a little bit. It's an 11.5. We've got a 12.6. We've got an 11.8. 11.6, 11.6, all good sizes for me. 11.8, 11.5, that's an interesting one, and then another 11.8. And the price for these was, yes, 25 cents each. So for $2, I got some nice new, or at least slightly used APC props for running on particular engines, and one of them might actually be useful for the engine I'm going to show you. The next thing I've got that I purchased was a brand new bottle of Wildcat. 10% nitro fuel, 18% synthetic oil. Now I used to use Wildcat fuel many years ago. I have no idea how old this thing is. This fella had 3 gallons of it, and I asked him how much he wanted for it, and he said, "What will you give me for it?" So I didn't want to lowball him too much, so I gave him $10 for that fresh new gallon of fuel. Now the final thing, probably the most interesting thing, is I found this. This is what I believe a YS63 4-stroke engine. Came with this prop, which just so happens to be a 12.6. Now, I've had several YS engines in the past. One was an FZ53. Now, the reason I say I think this is an FZ63 is because there's no marking on the lug, on either lug, that says what this is. And this is where they would be marked as to what the displacement is. Now, the 53 and the 63 were identical in external appearance, shape, size, and everything. Now, this one has no markings whatsoever, has the YS here, shows nothing on the side here, so I'm assuming it's a 63. Now, the only way I can tell for sure if it's a 63 is to take the head off and measure the bore, but I'm really not interested in doing that. Now, this engine looks to be in really good shape. It has pretty, what I would consider good, decent compression. It's been a while since I've flipped one of these over by hand like that, so I'm assuming that feels like it's in good shape. The only thing I've noted here is that this screw is missing, and this head looks a little hosed up. I'm not too concerned about that screw being missing because I could probably find a replacement. And even if I can't, I don't think it's going to be an issue to run this engine without that, because from the experience I had disassembling other YS engines, this thing has got like at least one, if not two, I think it's one, might be two, O-ring seals, and it was a real bear to get out anyway. So I don't think that's going to be a problem with air intrusion or popping out or anything like that. So I'm not concerned about that. The only thing that did concern me a bit, and I didn't even think about this until after I left the table and provided my money to the man. Actually, I was in the car driving back, and I was thinking, I was like, holy crap, this kind of sucks. I'm going to take this rocker cover off real quick. I was like, shit, you know, these things require a pressurized fuel system to operate, and I didn't ask about, nor did it come with, the check valve for this engine, so to pressurize the fuel tank. So I'm like, that kind of sucks. So the issue is that if I can't come across a check valve for this engine, I just bought a doorstop. I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. I'm not sure how successful you could be running this on a non-pressurized tank system. I don't know. I saw one video on YouTube where a fellow was running either a 53 or a 63 without a pressurized system, but it was only sitting there at idle, and I don't know if it would transition or anything like that. So this looks, I think I've got a nut driver in here too. Let me dig in here real quick. So without a pressure or a check valve, this thing could be kind of useless. So what I did was I went to, is this not fitting on here? What the hell's going on with that? This nut driver that I've got in my possession here is not really the best. Sometimes it has difficulties grabbing on things, so I don't think I'm going to be able to pop that glow plug right now. But without a check valve, I'm not going to be able to run this engine. So the only place I know of that I can get parts for YS engines is Central Hobbies. And I could have swore, not sure, but I could have swore that a couple of years ago I looked on the Central Hobbies website and it looked like they were no longer in business or defunct or something. So I went there anyway, and today or yesterday when I looked, it was like I saw at the bottom of the page it said 2015 to 2024 is the latest updates to the site. So I'm like, well, maybe they are still in operation. So I went and started checking. I searched for check valve for YS engines, and when it showed the image of a check valve, it said out of stock. But then it also said refer to particular engine for part. So there weren't a whole lot of engines to choose from. 115 showed up, and another 115 or something else that was discontinued. So I just clicked on them, and it gave me the parts list for the engines. And on that particular page, it had I think the part number was a 405, a check valve Z405 or F405, something like that. It said it was in stock. It said they had it. So I took a chance and put that in my cart, paid for it. The shipping for that damn thing was the same amount as the part itself, so it came out to be $20. I don't know, and that was on a Sunday. That was yesterday. So I haven't gotten any kind of email confirmation or anything because obviously Central Hobbies was closed, at least then. So I'm not sure if I'm actually going to get a check valve or not. I'm hopeful that I will get a check valve from them, and I'll be able to run this engine. If I don't get a check valve from them, well then, shit, I just bought a really pretty doorstop. I hope that's not the case, but if anybody is interested in assisting me with this, I'm trying to find top dead center here. It would be cool if you could lead me in the direction of, or sell me a spare check valve, or let me borrow a check valve for a few runs of this engine if you're interested in seeing this engine run. Now I'm feeling the gap here. I'm just kind of doing and it feels like the rocker arm or the valve lash is set properly right now. So anyway, this looks really clean now. I asked the fellow when the last time was that he ran this engine. He said about 10 years ago. Now it feels silky smooth. Doing a look inside is a potential, but I'd really like to try to run the engine first before I do that. And then I also went online and printed out the instructions for the FZ63 engine, just so I could refresh my mind on how to connect up the fuel system, proper priming procedure, that type of thing, and how to set the regulator. It looks like this regulator has never been messed with, or it was fine to begin with, because it looks like the brass screw is flush with the case, which is what I recall seeing in the past. So anyway, this was my swap meet find from the Valley Aero Modelers swap meet. And like I said, if anybody can assist with where to find a check valve, loan me a check valve, sell me a spare check valve, that would be much appreciated, because otherwise I've got an engine I can't use here. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching.